So Willie Simmons has injected energy. And sometimes you just need players who aren't associated with the losing, right? Guys who have fresh memories, who don't like have those same scars from the previous era.
All right, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Tranquilo Sports. We are here, week 2 in the book for college football, and we are joined by a very, very special guest. He is the 247 beat writer for the Texas Longhorns. He was an old colleague of Andre and I's at the Shula Bowl podcast. We are joined, the legend himself, Mr. Eric Henry. Welcome to the show.
Oh, man. Dave, Andre, what is going on, boys? Yeah, as you mentioned, we go way back to the original incarnation of the Shula Bowl.
Yes.
We were 5, 6 deep in the Shula Bowl, repping FIU, FAU, G5 football. Oh, man, it is such a pleasure to be on with y'all. Love to see what y'all are doing big things. So proud and happy for y'all's success. And I'm just honored to be here on the show, baby. And also, it makes me feel like I'm back home. I'm out here in the middle of Texas. I need a little Florida action, baby. So this is why I want to be here.
No, for sure. And Eric, it is Shula Bowl week. So it is only right to also have you back with us here. But before we dive into FIU, right, you are covering the Longhorns. We're about 2 weeks in. Just kind of want to get your initial thoughts on, 1, the Ohio State game, and then 2, everything that's going on with Arch. What can you tell us, tell the fans a little bit of, maybe inside baseball you got?
All right. I'll start with the Ohio State game. Man, I'll say this. I wasn't surprised that it was a low-scoring game because in the summer when I was asked for CBS Sports, 247 Sports, shout out to the brand, I was asked for my prediction. I actually had Ohio State winning the game something like 22-17, right? But then once I saw Texas's offense in fall camp, I was like, all right, I know they're not perfect. When you lose all the talent you lose, right? Last 2 years, 4 receivers to the NFL, 2 tight ends, running backs, offensive linemen, a quarterback, right? Like, you don't just pick that up immediately. But I felt good about Texas's offense. And man, they were in for something. Matt Patricia, of course, former New England Patriots DC, former Detroit Lions head coach, now Ohio State's defensive coordinator, threw a game plan at Texas that they admitted, guys, in the postgame, they were not ready for in the first half. That it just wasn't what they had prepped for, right? I'll say all in all, I get the feeling that we're going to see that matchup again. Like, I don't think it's the last time we're going to see those 2 teams play. Texas had their chances, all right? Like, I won't rehash the whole game, but you guys know arguably the biggest plays of the game. Let's start with 4th and 1 on the Ohio State goal line. QB sneak, which you're 6'4", 220-pound quarterback, and you get stuffed, right? Like, if you pick that up, that's 7 points right there. Maybe you're talking about a tie ball game. Arch Manning, you asked about Arch, right? It was his first road start. For all the hype, all of the conversation on Arch Manning, it's easy to lose sight of the fact that he only started 2 games last year and they both were at home, right? First road start, 107,000 people at Ohio State. He was composed, but guys, like, there's a reason the internet went crazy because he had throwing balls in the dirt, throwing balls at Ryan Wingo's knees, right? Throwing balls behind Ryan Wingo. That, for better or worse, right? Probably for Arch's sake, better or worse, that was not the national TV showcase that you would want in showing off your talents, right? So that's how that game went. As I said, in specificity to Arch, you asked about that. I expect him to bounce back because, listen, dude is not a bust, all right? It's been 4 games. He's a talented quarterback. He's 5-star for a reason. I keep seeing all these people say he's not a generational talent, not this. How do you know that after 4 games, right? Like, really give the kid a full season. He bounced back against a Group of 5 foe in San Jose State. For the FIU audience, CUSA, the CUSA brand is still strong. They'll face UTEP this week, so we'll get a chance to see how he fares against a Conference USA opponent. But Arch is going to be fine. A lot of the conversation, I'm sure you'll ask me about it, right? The conversation this week, because there's always conversation around Arch.
That was
Doesn't
my
matter
next
what he
question.
does, right? But the conversation around him, is he injured? Is he grimacing? Like I said, I'm sure you'll ask me about that, so I won't steal your thunder. But Arch is going to be fine. Texas is going to be fine. This team will bounce back. And because the 12-team playoff guys, like, they're going to be there. It would take something drastic in my mind for them to miss the playoff.
Yeah, I think it was just like such an overreaction of what people saw out of Archie week one. Like to your point, everyone was calling him a bust already. I'm like, guy's getting his first road start on in one of the biggest stages in Ohio State against a very good team, and to your point, coached really well. I just don't think like Archie gets a fair chance, good or bad, to be able to showcase like who he really is. And I think he does a good job of handling the pressure internally. But reality is like we haven't seen enough of Archie to be able to make a decision on whether he is elite, good, or maybe not good, right? But we all know he's going to be a good quarterback.
Yeah, you talk about not getting, a fair shake. It's so interesting, fellas. Like, that's kind of what comes with being a Manning at this point.
Yeah.
It's almost like the Bronny syndrome. It's the Shadur syndrome, right? Like, you got the famous parent in this case. And shout out to Cooper. Let's not like bury Cooper. I know he didn't make the NFL, but Cooper is where Arch gets his athleticism from, right? It certainly isn't Peyton or Eli. But when you have famous uncles, one who is a Hall of Famer, one borderline, depending on who you ask, another Hall of Famer, right? All that spotlight comes. You do feel bad for the kid because, like I said, everything he does gets scrutinized. And you can tell he's over the media coverage. Like, Arch tends to playfully make these jokes when we talk to him, like, yeah, I don't really like to talk to you guys, but trust me, fellas, there's truth in that joke. Like, he's not, it's not just a joke. He wishes that he could be doing something else. But yeah, at the end of the day, as I said, he's a 5-star talent for a reason. I think you saw, let's not forget, right? Dude stepped in, when Quinn Ewers went down last year, played well against UTSA, played well against Louisiana Monroe. Give him time, right? If there's one thing y'all know, look at Steve Sarkisian's track record of developing quarterbacks, right? In terms of college, say what you want about their pro careers. Matt Leinart, Carson Palmer. You turned Mac Jones into a first-round pick, right? Mm-hmm. Jake Locker, Tua Tagovailoa. Well, I guess maybe I shouldn't say that name right now.
Not right now.
Tua, all right? Like, he's done good work. Quinn Ewers, right? Yeah. He's done work with quarterbacks. So if you just look at the track record, there's no reason to think that Arch playing in Steve Sarkisian's system won't have success.
Eric, something that we touched a little bit on before we ended up going live. I know you mentioned this is like the first time you've seen this much hype on a player that you've been covering. What are some things that that you're noticing like in the background, like the number of people? Is it just the number of people asking him? Is it his reactions, coaches' reactions? Like, what's the biggest thing that you can take away, especially coming from FIU to now Texas?
Well, first off, Dave, you say this is the first time. Let's not forget James Morgan, baby. James Morgan had this
Captain
guy.
Morgan. True.
I'm playing.
Come on.
Good correction, Eric.
No, J-Mo did not have this at all. No, in all seriousness, it is, guys, I am flabbergasted like weekly at the amount of attention Arch gets.
I can only imagine, man. Because
it's not even just local, right? It's not even just the guys in Austin. Like, if you're the quarterback at the University of Texas, it's a spotlight position. I'm not trying to make it, be hyperbolic, right? But Texas is a national brand, and people have interest in the quarterback at the University of Texas, like being the quarterback at Alabama, quarterback at SC, the list goes on. So you have that interest. Then in state, right? This is the flagship program. So people are genuinely interested in Arch Manning. But the thing that flabbergasts me is, I think just the level of nonstop conversation around Arch Manning. With Quinn Ewers, at least it was on Mondays when he spoke to the media and on Saturdays, right? And maybe if Quinn did something that was, good or bad, maybe get a little bit of talk during the week. I can't even turn on ESPN college football coverage, or really any coverage for that matter. Sports Center, First Take, Get Up. I can't, because I'm going to hear the same thing that I just spent an entire press conference at, right? I think that's the part that's fascinating. And like I said, I empathize with Arch when he throws those jabs out there. And it's like, man, I really wish I could be doing something else, because he is a 20, 21-year-old kid. It can't, it has to feel suffocating at times. But the flip side of that, guys, and I know you made the joke, Dave, about this is an FIU. Well, I'm not saying this to be a jerk, but it's a double-edged sword. The amount of attention he gets is insane, right? It just is. There's no two ways about it. But if you don't want that level of attention, you can go to FIU. You can go to Texas State. And I'm not saying that flippantly.
I know.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
Sorry, Willie Simmons. Hey, pause up. Maybe I'll even throw one of those up. Now I don't cover the team. Pause up. You can go to a smaller school, and I'm not like being sarcastic when I say it. Like Arch Manning, from a financial perspective, right? He's all right. His NIL is all right, and it comes from a family that's okay. So it's not like he needs the money in that sense. This is what comes with being at Texas, right? You could go to Washington or some other places, you'd be more insulated, but this is what comes with being the quarterback of Texas.
No, 100%. And piggybacking on that, just because based on the amount of things that obviously are going around Arch are also kind of trickling to obviously the coaching, right, with Sark. I do got to ask you about Sark's comments today. What do you take from that? It was a bit weird, all right? Give me your take on it.
If you know Steve has kind of an awkward, kind of like a dry sense of humor. And that's what I think Steve was going for. I guess for the audience who doesn't know, right? Like we should lay the foundation.
Yeah.
Today is Monday, so I don't know whenever you guys will be watching this, but today's Monday, September 8th. And earlier today, Steve Sarkisian's press conference. If you watched the game against San Jose State, the TV broadcast, we should point out first, it was the TV broadcast that isolated Arch Manning's face and speculated as to whether he was wincing when he was throwing the football. And there were some people on Twitter, not just fans. I don't want to shout out the wrong name. I think it was Kurt Benkert, who played backup for the Packers. But if I got that wrong, I apologize. It was a former pro quarterback who does now like analysis of quarterbacks, who said, hey, this guy's clearly injured, right? So there were people speculating on it. And Steve was asked in the post game on Saturday, hey, the TV broadcast picked up Arch wincing. Is he okay? Steve basically dismissed it, said, I don't know what you guys are talking about. He's fine. He was asked, hey, is that the way he throws the football? Steve said, I don't know what you're talking about. Arch Manning was asked that. Arch said he's fine. I will cheap plug here. Our Hank South at horns247.com did actual research, actual journalism, pulled photos from USA Today of Arch in high school and earlier in his college career. And he does seem to make that face, right? When he throws the football. You guys have seen Peyton Manning and Eli Manning. They kind of mess with their shoulders and they kind of have like these facial expressions, right? He does kind of do that. So today, I won't name the reporter. It was a student, right? So we'll just leave it at that. It was a student who asked Steve Sarkisian, hey, Arch, the TV broadcast seemed to show Arch wincing. And Steve clearly had enough of that conversation, came teed up ready for his response and said, I don't know what you're talking about. No. And then said, hey, I don't question what faces you guys make when you guys use the restroom. It was awkward, but if you know Steve Sarkisian, that's just kind of his dry, kind of goofy humor. Because he followed up with like, you guys like that, right? Like it was a joke. And in Steve's credit, right? He gave said reporter, he's like, hey, after he shot it down, he's like, hey, I'll come back to you. You'll get another question. I'll give you another shot. But he wasn't going to answer that. So that's what you're obviously referring to. And it was awkward. Steve could have handled it differently, but again, that's just him. He's just, when he is not willing to entertain something, he can be dismissive in a kind of goofy, kind of, maybe not goofy, like kind of like a dry kind of humor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in a moment or with a player like Archie, they're just going to grab that and use it to their advantage in that moment. That's the problem.
It was everywhere. Yeah.
Any other player, and you get that response from a coach, and you're just going to be like, okay, that was just weird, and you move on. Now everyone's going to dig way deep into this.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I love the fact that I don't want to say the wrong name, but the guy who did the journalism into his face, he deep dive into his face, especially. Shout out him because that is great.
Yeah, Hank. They got Hank South. He's part of the squad
Hank
over
South.
at Horns247.com. Hank did a bunch of work recruiting, and now he's on the team side. So shout out to Hank.
Love it, Hank. You got anything more on Texas?
No, I'm a big Archie guy. I'm going to keep backing up Archie. So, hearing it come from you on your kind of attitude towards Archie and just the whole media, makes me feel good about it, because you go online and it's just ripping Archie 24/7. And
Right.
I'm not one of those guys that's going to do that. I know this guy over here after week one was jumping off the Archie train.
I was Eric, full disclosure, I was in the chat. I was in our Tranquilo chat. And I was just like, I was like, dude, this guy sucks. Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not going to play that game yet. Just like I'm not going to play that the Dolphins suck.
No, man. Well, I guess I'll be the devil's advocate.
No, I'm kidding. We suck.
All right, Eric. I got to obviously ask you about the Shula Bowl, right? We're here at Shula Bowl week. All right. Give me your thoughts so far on what you've been able to see from FIU, the Willie Simmons era. I just came from Penn State, electric. But have you been able to keep up? Have you been able to watch and give us some Shula Bowl talk?
Yeah, I mean, I'll work in reverse. I'll start with Shula Bowl, man. Like,
okay.
I've always felt, and I know there are some FIU fans, Chia Panther. Shout out Chia. I gotta shout out Chia, who have hated the Shula Bowl name, are just over, FAU as a rival. I personally don't like that, and I'll use my alma mater as an example, right? UCF has tried for a while to dismiss USF as a rival, and now they don't have a natural rival because they're in the Big 12. Cincinnati is not your rival.
No.
Houston is not it's a rival from the old Conference USA / American Conference, but USF is UCF's rival, right? No matter whether you're in a different conference or not. And that obviously is the case here with the Shula Bowl, FAU, FIU, because FAU, Florida Atlantic, now in the American, and FIU still in Conference USA. I think you got to give both Scott Carr and Brian White, Brian White, AD at FAU credit for continuing this rivalry, because it matters, 100%. Man. Like, you guys know, you guys are FIU grads. It's your guy. It's the rivalry. Who are you going to say?
100%.
Middle Tennessee, right? Like, no, FAU, FIU, that's the rivalry. Backyard. David, I covered FIU from 2017 to 2022. Like, that game matters because you have players all from South Florida, all from the crib, all in each other's backyard. That's what made, the 2021 game, David, where you had like the post-game fracas where FAU, is grabbing the FIU little like decal from the trophy and throwing it. I was there on the field for that, right? Like, and David, like, I don't want to go on a tangent. Andre, you know this too. I don't want to go on a tangent, but I can think of all the years. 2018, I was like, oh yeah, okay. FIU's the better team, right? They're gonna win the Shula Bowl. That's the FIU team that won 9 games. Nope.
Yep.
We all know what happens. Devin Singletary, Kareth White runs through FIU, right?
Yeah.
2019, I remember thinking, like, man, is FIU ever going to win a Shula Bowl? So yeah, the rivalry matters, and I'm glad that they're still playing it. In relation to FIU, of course, I still keep up as best I can. I don't get a chance to watch as many games because sometimes there's an overlap, but there still are guys like Julius Pierce, for example, who I remember his recruitment. I remember when he signed with FIU. Demetrius Hill, who made his way back to FIU, right, from Illinois. Of course, lights out, Kewan Jenkins. I remember his recruitment. I remember the day he signed, and, the former staff being over the moon. I'm sure you guys remember this, David. I know you remember it specifically. The lights out deal when Mike McIntyre flipped the lights, right? On recruiting day, on signing day, when they got lights out. So of course I still keep up. I'm super curious, guys. Like, I had a chance to see mostly the Bethune-Cookman game. I saw bits and pieces of Penn State. It feels like Willie's injected, and I know this sounds cliche, just a measure of energy to this program, right? That maybe was missing towards the end of the Mike McIntyre era. And I'll be honest, I still have a relationship with Butch Davis. Mike McIntyre texted me a couple months ago. I will see him when we go to Mississippi State. So, still have a relation with those guys, but I'll call a spade a spade. At the end of the Butch Davis era, there clearly needed to be a change, not just with coaching, but top down in terms of the athletic department, right? the end of the Mike McIntyre era, things felt a little lifeless. So Willie Simmons has injected energy, and that's what I saw against Bethune-Cookman, right? A lot of new guys. Dave, Andre, sometimes you just need players who aren't associated with the losing, right? Guys who have fresh memories, who don't like have those same scars from the previous era. I think you got a lot of that with the influx of talent, right? I think you're starting to see Willie Simmons really get guys from South Florida again, which is huge. And Kewan Jenkins, like I said, as his performance against Bethune-Cookman, it was encouraging. I think for me personally, I don't know how you guys feel. I'll close on this. What's this, year 3?
Year 3, yeah.
Right, as a starter, yeah, because Grayson started. It was Grayson and Gunnar Holmberg my last year, and then Kewan, year 3. I'm looking to see that next step, right? Again, I know it sounds cliche, but I'll never forget Scott Carr saying to me, and I think the statute of limitations is up on this. At a certain point, I won't say when, he said to me, he's like, I think we have our Mackenzie Milton, right? At a certain point, you kind of need him to be that guy. Remember, he was committed to Auburn, right?
Yep.
A Power 5 school, play quarterback. He has that type of talent. You just want to see everything come together. So I'm super optimistic about FIU, and I'll quickly say on FAU why I think this game is dangerous. Remember who their quarterback is. It's Caden Veltkamp, who was a very good quarterback at Western Kentucky last year. And guys, super quick, if you're a Conference USA fan, it seems like all Tyson Helton at Western Kentucky does is just find guys to put in that system. Bailey Zappi, I'm forgetting the kid who came after him, Caden Veltkamp. Now they got this kid from Abilene Christian, Maverick McIver, who's balling, right? So, like, you can't discount Caden Veltkamp over at FAU. But, yeah, man, I'm super excited. I hope I get a chance to watch the Shula. I'm not sure what time kickoff is on Saturday, but
it's at 6.
I want to okay, it's great. So I'll get a chance to check out a little bit of it after Texas game.
Awesome. No, I piggybacking on a few things you said. The Willie thing, the culture change, the energy, it's you can see it just from the start already. I mean, we've had the chance to talk with him. He's amazing. Just like everyone seems really bought in, right? And even after this Penn State game, like I had a chance to talk to some of the guys, and not that they weren't like defeated, but like they were like they could have played 3 more quarters. Like they just seem bought into this and just ready to go. Like the coaches were like minor speed bump. We're on to the next one. You forget it and you move on. And that's why I think this game's so important because I want to see how they, answer to obviously big week 1 win. You're going to play the number 2 team in the country. We held around for a good amount of this game. Like it was 10-0 at halftime. You know what I mean? And then obviously at the end, they score a couple late ones that make the score look worse. But if they can come out and beat FAU and win the Shula Bowl for the first time in 9 years, I think, it's a huge statement for this team, for Willie, and I think really the sky's the limit for them in Conference USA.
No, Dave, I agree with you. Like I said, I've never, in my time covering FIU, and of course now the years after, I've never seen them win one because the last one was 2016, if my memory serves me correct, right?
It's been a long time.
Oh my gosh. Did Magoo start that game or was that Maurice Alexander? I can't remember.
It was Magoo.
It was Magoo. Okay, yeah. Because I knew that. Yeah. I think 16 was the last year for Ron Turner and he was in and out of the lineup. I couldn't remember who started. But yeah, like I haven't seen FIU beat FAU. So I agree with you, right? And let's be real. If you're trying to recruit in the backyard, you can't have people saying, oh yeah, you're the secondary school in your own backyard in terms of FAU, FIU. So it's huge. And to your point, David, like I said, I got a chance to watch plays. I didn't get a chance to watch actual, gameplay, but the highlights of Penn State. I know a lot of the players aren't the same, but culturally speaking, right? This was a game that when I saw FIU had Penn State, I was thinking, oh man, I hope they don't go up there and get smoked 60-0, right? Because I was there at Western Kentucky. Again, different players, but I was at Western Kentucky when they lost 73-0, right?
Yeah.
You hope that it's not that kind of outcome. So to see them hang tough, and let's really quick, give a shout out to Javon DeWitt, right?
100%.
David and Andre, let's give a shout out to him, a guy who interviewed for the head coaching job twice, interviewed this last go around, and chose to stay on staff, right, when he didn't get the job. And he's done really good work with that defense. I think continuity and them in his system, you saw that on Saturday, right? Drew Aller's a good quarterback. and to hold him, relatively speaking, in check. I know, like you said, they got late touchdowns, but to keep him relatively in check, like I think this could be in a weird way. I'm not a big, morale, morale win or whatnot, or whatever. But like, I think this could be a boost to say, yo, we hung with Penn State. Why don't we go but dominate Conference USA?
Yeah. Yeah, I think obviously you watch that game, there's a ton of good to take away. To your point, morale victories don't essentially really mean much. But in this case, they mean a little bit of something, right? It's a 10-0 game at half, 20-0 with like 6 minutes left, I think, in the fourth. Like, still actually like a fighting chance in that game on the road in Penn State, 106,000 people there. Like, no one even thought FIU had a chance in that game. So for them to be hanging around, that confidence, you could see they were playing off of that confidence in that game, which for me was huge. I was like, holy cow. I can't believe I'm watching this right now, where it's the fourth quarter against Penn State and we technically have a chance in this game. And you look at a lot of plays, one play here, one play there, a couple breakaway runs that if they take it and that safety doesn't make a shoestring tackle, you're talking about a 10-7 game at one point. Like, there's a lot of moments in there, and I think that's the more discouraging part, is like, holy cow, they had a chance. And if a couple plays go their way, I think they actually think they had a chance of winning that game, which is insane to even say. But reality is, like, the score is a score. You didn't get the dub there, but you fought hard. How do you carry that into FAU next week? Because this is a huge game for the sake of rivalry, recruiting, all this stuff. Like, is there going to be a hangover effect going into FAU where you're like, shit, like, we didn't win that game and we fought hard and there's a lot of good, but how do you carry that momentum of a hard-fought game into an FAU game, which is, going to be a challenge because it is a rivalry game.
Yeah, and I think for me, it's like, again, that's why I think it's going to be such a testament to what Willie can do, right? Because how could he take this, spin it into, although there's a lot of positives, but spin it into a positive to make sure the guys are still ready to go for next week. And I think just the coaching staff in general that he's put together, like you mentioned, DeWitt, you got Gator, who I had a chance to talk after the game, and he was ready to battle more, man.
Yeah.
He was
Those
so proud of
DBs
his
look
guys, and he's like, now you just got to coach them and get them ready for next week. So
yeah. It's a big week this week.
Big week.
Yeah, and David, I'll add this super quick, right? Because this is my thing. Why I think it's twofold. Why it's so important you get the win this week if you're FIU. Look at it this way. If you're gonna, and the phrase I was looking for is moral victories, right? Like, if you're gonna take the moral victory out of Penn State, it's this. There isn't gonna be an environment in Conference USA that will match Penn State, right?
100%.
So any road game you go to, that should give you the confidence, hey, we hung with Penn State. But the key is you got to carry that over and win this week, right?
Yeah.
That should be the sign, like, hey, we can build off of this moral victory and carry that over into this week. And then you can pair those things together and say, man, like, I think FIU goes to Middle Tennessee this year. Am I correct?
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
No, I think we have it at home, right? No, you're right. It's away because the Max last game, I think, was at home against Middle Tennessee.
Yeah. You guys know just as well as I do, the House of Horrors Floyd Stadium has been for FIU over the past decade, right? If you're able to carry that momentum from Penn State and beat FAU this week, go to Floyd Stadium is going to be nothing, right? So that's why it's twofold, in my opinion.
Yeah, it almost feels like if we don't win this week, though, like a lot of what the momentum was from Penn State is going to be extremely diminished.
Yeah. Right.
That's why they're going to get it done.
Get it done.
In Willie, I trust, baby. All right. Eric, one last thing. I got one last thing. You got.
I got to ask him one question, but is it around FIU or something else?
I'm moving off FIU. You got an FIU one?
No, it's not FIU.
Okay.
Go, you go.
All right. Then you go.
Now you're going to hate my question. Though.
All right. Never mind.
Yeah.
No, Eric, I wanted to go. Obviously, we're 2 weeks in. Whether it's teams or maybe storylines have been either the most surprising or the one that you have your eye on for the rest of the year?
I'm going to stay in the SEC. And I know it may sound like I'm being a homer, but guys, there were 11 SEC teams, 11 out of 16 ranked in the top 25. All right. So that's why I'm sticking in the SEC. Let's start. The Florida Gators. You
Yep.
drop a
Yeah.
game to USF at home. I don't want to pick on, college kids, but you have the player for UF who spits on the USF player
Yeah,
after you
that was
just
bad.
saw that on national television.
Crazy. Yeah.
How insane is that? You got to keep your composure when USF is driving down the field to win, right? That's a storyline I'm keeping my eye on because you could see another shakeup at Florida. If this thing goes off the rails, Billy Napier is going to
It's
be in
over.
trouble. I know Scott Strickland, the AD there, just came out with the dreaded,
I saw that.
vote of support, right? So you know what that means.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely keeping my eye on that in the SEC. Also, Alabama, right? Listen, Kalen DeBoer, you can't lose to unranked Florida State and think you're going to keep your job in year 2. They expect to win. So I am super curious on those programs. But the reason I say that is because in this 12-team playoff, how many teams are going to come from the SEC, right? Like, let's say 11 top 25 ranked teams. That interests me. I can go out west, right, and take a look at, schools like USC. Can they make a push? Some of the other schools out there. I think also the group of 5, right? As I mentioned, USF beat UF.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to head down to South Florida to take on the Miami Hurricanes. If they can knock off Miami, A, that knocks Miami out of the top 5. B, that puts USF in the driver's seat to take the group of 5 spot in the college football playoff.
There's an argument that if they beat Miami, they should be top 5, top 10.
100%.
These guys are crazy.
3 ranked wins to start the season. They're a top 5 team.
Wins. Yeah, they should easily be top 15. No doubt about that, right?
And Florida was on the road. UM will be on the road, and Boise was at home. So, I mean,
exactly.
2 of the 3 would be on the road.
Exactly. So those are storylines I'm keeping my eye on. And also in the Big Ten, I'm just very curious to see how that shakes out, right? Like Michigan had that setback against Oklahoma. Can they bounce back? Of course, Ohio State, they get the big time win. Julian saying, I don't want to say he has the cheat code, but guys, he has the cheat code from the crib, from South Florida in Jeremiah Smith, right? Just throw the ball in his direction. You're going to be good. So definitely keep my eye on a lot of those. But like I said, the SEC, I'm not being an SEC homer. It's just that as long as the SEC is prioritized and you have so many teams ranked in the top 25, they're going to get all those chances at 3, 4, maybe 5 bids possibly. You never know in terms of the college football playoff.
Yeah, I like it. You touched on a couple of the ACC, and real quick, I don't want to get too crazy into it, but what do you think about Tommy Castellanos and the Florida State Seminoles to start the season?
Andre, you're not going to lie, it's a little bit of a sore spot for me, of course. Some viewers may know I went to the University of Central Florida. I am a objective reporter. I don't cheer for anybody. However, seeing Gus Malzahn, guys, put this in perspective. Gus Malzahn not dismissed, but basically ushered Tommy Castellanos out, right? It said, I have my own quarterback I want to bring in. And now, in this weird full circle thing, Gus Malzahn resigns from the job at UCF, takes the OC job at Florida State, now ends up with Tommy C as his quarterback, and now they're making things happen. I am curious about the Seminoles because I think Mike Norvell's a really good coach. I've been a fan of Mike Norvell since I'm at Memphis, right? Back when I was covering Group of Fives, I thought Mike Norvell did a really good job there. Couldn't quite get over the UCF hump until Mackenzie Milton was hurt, right? And they had to go in a different direction, and then they were able to get over UCF. It's going to be interesting, man. Guys, Clemson, right?
Yeah,
Clemson, we thought would be in the driver's seat. Cade Klubnik. They end up falling to LSU, right? You have 3 teams in the ACC. I think you can make the case. Florida State, Miami, Clemson, all could be in that position to get a bid, right? So that is super interesting. But yeah, in terms of the Noles, I always thought, Andre, they would bounce back, right? I mean, they weren't as bad as 2-10. They just had 2-10 quarterback play in DJU, right? So always felt they would bounce back. I'm super interested to see, Gus Malzahn's offense, guys, it's a high school offense. It really is. So I'm curious if teams can kind of catch up to that. But right now, it seems like they got things rolling.
I like it.
I've got my Tommy Castellanos Cuban Missile Crisis Heisman ticket waiting.
Let's go.
Right after my Kejuan Jenkins one. Well, Eric, as always, thank you. First off, joining us for the first time at the Tranquilo.
Yes, sir.
All right. Always a pleasure seeing you. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter or X at EricCHenry_. Catch my Texas football, basketball, and baseball coverage at horns247.com on socials, and of course, horns247.com, 247sports.com. And you can catch me local radio if you happen to be in Austin, like my guy Dave Hondo will be. You can catch me on AM 1300 The Zone, pinch hitting in the mornings or doing spots in the mornings and in the afternoons. And shout out to me being the third Hondo son. Let's not forget that.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Eric, thank you, my man. Thank you for joining us. Always a pleasure. And yeah, we're linking up this weekend.